Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Dorn Geek Book Talk. Today, we are going to talk about The Truce at Bakura. Let's get right into it. Yes, The Truce at Bakura. The Truce at Bakura. This book was published November 1st, 1993. So we're talking quite a while ago, right? This is a book that was near the beginning of the expanded universe. Not quite at the beginning, but a couple of years after everything started to get big. So this was Kathy Tyer's first exploration into the Star Wars expanded universe. Very early book, and wonderful book. We will see exactly how this all came to be. I want to first look at the timeline here. I want to talk about exactly where we are, not just in terms of where we are physically, but when we are, where we are in time, because it's very important that we know how far after Return of the Jedi, how far after certain significant events, all these sorts of things. And so we are going to be very much talking on each book talk about our timeline and where we land and when we land on that timeline. The Truce at Bakura takes place in 4 ABY. That's 4 years after the Battle of Yavin. Now, if that sounds like a short period of time, gee, that doesn't sound like very long, does it? Well, you're absolutely right. We are not long after the destruction of the first Death Star here. We have not come a long ways, and we are only really hours, just hours, after the events of Return of the Jedi. So Return of the Jedi, remember, ends with Luke turning Vader, defeating the Emperor, and everybody's joyous. Seems like the end of the Empire. I'm sure you've seen Return of the Jedi. I don't know why I'm going on and on about it, but I do want you to think about one thing. This is 23 years after the establishment of the Empire. That is 23 years after the events of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. So we have come quite a long ways already in the story from the end of the Republic all the way up to now, the formation of the Empire. Let's look at the ages of some of our heroes here, the main heroes that we're going to be worried about in this book. Luke and Leia, the Skywalker twins, are 23 years old. Remember when we met them in Episode 4, they were 19. They were only 19 years old, just babies. And okay, so to be fair, they're not much older here, right? Han Solo is 10 years older than the twins. He is 33 years old. Chewie is a couple of 100 years old. I don't want to get into the specifics of it because it's kind of been retconned over the years. And Chewie's age is dependent on really what sources you go to. So I won't get heavy into Chewie's age, but Han Solo is now 33 years old. Wedge Antilles a big part of Return of the Jedi. Remember, Wedge is 25. He's about 2 years older than the Skywalker twins, and he is going to play an important role in this book. He is such an interesting character to follow. And in fact, such an interesting character, there was kind of a whole book series about him and his family and everything else. And then we have Mon Mothma, of course, the leader of the rebellion. Mon Mothma is 52 years old. you got to think about all that Mon Mothma has been through, right? She was there for the fall of the Republic. She was a main person in making sure that that the rebellion came in, all that good stuff, right? And then a new character for you to watch out for, Gariel Captison. Gariel Captison. There in the slideshow, you can see her. She is 23. She's the same age as the Skywalker twins. She is a new character that we are going to explore. And yes, that mostly one character is going to explore. And then we have Deb Sibwara. Deb Sibwara is a 15-year-old that we are going to meet in this book. He's one of my favorite characters in the entire expanded universe. I think you're really going to enjoy his story. I don't want to give a lot away. The purpose of these book talks is to tease you into reading, so I don't want to give too much away, but Deb Sibwara is 15. Something to definitely keep in mind. Let's look at the major places that we are going to visit along our journey through this book. We really only have two major places. Coruscant will be mentioned. Other places will be mentioned, but this book takes place only hours after the end of Return of the Jedi, which means Endor is a really important place for us to visit in this book. You can see some different images of Endor as we go through this portion of the slideshow here. Endor is, of course, this pivotal place, right? It is, for all intents and purposes, where the Empire ended because the Emperor died above Endor, all that stuff. It's actually going to be above Endor, is actually going to be a significant place in this book. So make sure you're thinking about the importance of Endor as you read this book and how much of a turning point the Battle of Endor was and what was still going on down at the surface. All that kind of stuff is going to be important. And then we're going to introduce a new place. This new place is the planet Bakura. The planet Bakura. I love the way that sounds, don't you? Bakura is a long ways out. It's in the Outer Rim. It's a long ways away from any main hubs. And this becomes really important. It is, however, it's not a primitive world the way that say Endor is. It's a modern world. They have all the modern technology there. They are a part of the modern government. They have their own structure to how they do things there. Again, I don't want to give too much away, but Bakura is very, very much a part of just what's been going on as in general with everything that has been going on with everybody. And it's going to be very interesting to see how things pan out with Bakura. Let's talk about our major characters and really the major relationships that go on. One of the major relationships that we're going to see in this book is the relationship between Luke Skywalker and Wedge Antilles. Luke and Wedge have a bond that goes all the way back to Episode 4, to A New Hope. And we are going to see that bond. We're also going to see a bond between Luke and Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is going to be a continued significant thing that we're going to find in this book. Of course, Obi-Wan is a Force ghost, is dead. We know that since episode 4. We saw him as a Force ghost in both The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. His relationship with Luke, still very important. Then we're going to introduce a new species. This new species is called the Sai-Ru, and their relationship with Bakura itself, with the government of Bakura, with the people of Bakura, with the system, all of that is going to become a really important part of things. We're also going to get to see what happens now as the Alliance to restore the Republic, the Rebellion, and the Empire move into a new era. Okay, the Empire isn't, how can it be the Empire without the Emperor, right? It's a very different thing going on all of a sudden, and we're going to see that. And then we're going to see the relationship between Luke Skywalker and Gariel Captison, one of our new characters here, Gariel Captison. And this relationship with Luke that I don't want to say it's a relationship, but it's an interesting dynamic. Let's call it that. They're dynamic together, okay? Then our other new character, Dev Sibwara, remember he's only 15, and his relationship with the Sai-Ru, okay? The Sai-Ru themselves are going to be interesting to meet, just kind of in and of themselves, but the relationship they have with this character Dev is just a phenomenal thing to read about. Let's take a look at some of our continuing characters and relationships. This is a little bit of a spoiler, but there is going to be a relationship between Luke Skywalker and Dev Sibwara. And I'm sort of teasing what that relationship is in the slideshow there. I hope I'm not spoiling too much. It's something fairly obvious right from the beginning, so I don't feel like I'm doing that. We also have to look back and think about a lot. I want you to think about all that has gone on between Leia Organa and Darth Vader. All that they went through together and separately, what their relationship is, and then think about, what do you think as a relationship, as an idea about Leia and Anakin Skywalker? Of course, you have to think about Anakin and Darth Vader really as two different people. And what is Leia's... how is Leia going to see that? That's all I really want to say about it. We're, of course, going to deal with Leia's relationship with Han Solo. We remember at the end of Return of the Jedi, they were very happy together. Secrets had been revealed, and Han no longer felt threatened by Luke. And it just... it was all the feels, right? You look at Han and Leia and you feel like they should be together, right? That feels right. But you got to remember that if you just made it that simple, if you didn't consider some of the issues within that relationship, that wouldn't make for good story, right? So just something to think about. And then another new character I haven't really talked about, I don't know, a big deal, but only in his relationship with others, is Governor Nereus. Governor Nereus is a figure that you are going to meet, that you are going to have to pay attention to as you go through this book, and just kind of his overall relationship. Let's get to our major events, the major events that are going to go on in this book. The first one is going to be Wedge. Okay, Wedge Antilles, who had a part in blowing up the second Death Star, very, very significant part in blowing up the second Death Star, had a part in making sure that Luke was able to blow up the first Death Star. Wedge is a major hero, but Wedge is going to have an encounter with an Imperial drone. And when I say Imperial drone, this is going to be a different type of Imperial drone. This is not going to be the probe droid that we saw in episode 5 in The Empire Strikes Back. This is going to be a very different type. You're also going to be introduced to the idea of entekment. And I'm going to let the images just kind of speak for themselves here. I'm not going to say a lot there. You can see as you look at the slideshow images sort of who's involved in this idea of entekment. And I'm teasing a little bit in this second image as to what entekment does, although I will say it plays a bigger role even than what I'm teasing here. So just entekment is a really important part. Please make sure that you pay close attention to it when they talk about it, especially when they talk about it initially. And then we have to circle back around to Dev Sibwara, 15-year-old Dev Sibwara, and we have to talk about how the Syrut control him. Okay, this is vitally important to the story again. And this, if you manage to gloss over how they control Dev, you're missing like a quarter of the book. So don't worry, you won't miss this. But very significant, very important to the book. Read into it. Don't be afraid to really read into the way that they control him, what they use, how they manage the whole thing. Again, I don't want to give away too much, but you can probably make some guesses. Another set of major events, the confusion of being so close to the death of the Emperor. At the end of Return of the Jedi, we see a lot of major cities on major worlds celebrating the death of the Emperor and presumably the end of the Empire. Again, how can there be an Empire without the Emperor? We're actually going to explore that in future book talks. But it's so close to the death of the Emperor right now. We're hours after the death of the Emperor when we start this book. So it's not like time has really gone by and we're able to evolve past the Emperor's death. Another major event that we have to look out for is Luke trying out a brand new role for him. Now, this is a role that has been predicted for him or thrust upon him by Yoda specifically. So I know I'm giving away a little bit there, but the image is giving away a little bit too. And I'm okay with that because you have to guess that this is what Luke is going to do. It's what he was told to do. And I don't think it's going to come as a surprise to anyone that this is what Luke is going to do. But we get to actually see it happen for the first time. And I think that's really significant. And then we're going to have a scare. Now, I've got the word Luke's scare. I've got those two words there, although there should probably be, just to tease a little bit, there should probably be an S on the end of that, because it's not Luke's, it's not any one scare, it's several. And Luke has to go through a lot emotionally in this book. And it's really nice to see Kathy Tyers and just the Star Wars books in general force Luke to grow right away. I think that was really good, because a lot of other characters don't get to grow right away. We have a very slow burn with a lot of other characters, almost all of them actually, but Luke gets to grow right away, and I think that's good. So I want to thank everybody for having followed me on this journey through this book talk. The very next book in the timeline is The Courtship of Princess Leia. That is the next one that we will be covering. So thank you so much, everybody. This is Dorn Geek saying, may the Force be with you, and I hope you join me for another book talk. Thank you, everyone.